Hello everyone, my name is Alison Ogilvie and I'm a whale biologist. Today I'll tell you how I got here, what I do, and what I love best about my job. So I went to school at the University of Victoria in British Columbia in Canada. And you can see where that is with the red star. And if you drove in your car from DC, where you live, to Victoria, it would take you 42 hours. And that's as long as you spend in school over 6 days. My university was on an island, and I tried to study the ocean as much as possible. When I graduated, I got a job on a whale watch boat, and that let me go out on the water 2 times every day. And my job was to make sure that everyone on the boat was safe and to tell people about what they were seeing. We got to see a lot of animals on the boats on these whale watching trips, and that included harbor seals, stellar sea lions. We got to see killer whales and humpback whales. And so here are some photos of what humpback whales and killer whales look like when they're not underwater, just to give you an idea. And they look small, but humpback whales can be as big as a school bus. That is not small. And I got really good at finding whales and figuring out who they were. So I moved to Cape Cod so that I could study whales here, and that's where I work now. So I am where you see the yellow star on Cape Cod, and the red star is you in Washington, D.C. And if you got in your car and drove to where I am, it would take you 8 hours, which is longer than you spend in school on any day. So what do I do now? I spend a lot of time in boats and in planes looking for whales and then taking their pictures. Sometimes on the boats, they give us really big binoculars to find the whales with, and that's like the photo that you see of me at the top. On the bottom, you can see us taking pictures of right whales from a boat, and then you can see what right whales look like when we take their pictures from a plane. So what is a right whale? So here are some photos of a right whale, and you can see what it looked like when we take pictures of it from a plane, pictures from a boat, and then what they look like when they're not in the water. And there's only about 370 North Atlantic right whales left in the world, and that's less right whales than there are kids at your school. Not very many. So how big are right whales? The answer is really big. And they can be 50 feet long. If you don't know how long that is, that's the length of a semi-truck trailer. You can see a right whale and the size for comparison there. But also, if you've been to the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History in Washington, D.C., you might have seen this whale hanging from the ceiling. And this is a phoenix. This is Phoenix, and she's a life-sized right whale. But you can see how small the people look who are standing underneath her. Right whales have callosities on their heads, and those are covered in whale lice, which you can see at the bottom, that live in these callosities. And there's so many whale lice in the callosities that they turn the callosities on the right whale's heads white. The whale lice are about the size of your fingernail, and these ones only live on right whales. We're really happy about that since we don't want these lice living in our heads now, do we? The callosities on the right whale's head are the part of the whale that we try to photograph the most. So here you can see our plane circling over a group of right whales. We're way up at the top. We open the window and we take pictures of the top of the right whale's heads. And so these are what those photos look like. And this is how we match the right whales to figure out who they are. Now, every right whale has a different callosity pattern, just like we all have different faces. And you can see how different these 4 right whale heads are. So we use these callosities and then match the right whales to the pictures that they have in the catalog, which is kind of like their mugshot. So where can you find right whales? Now, right whales live all up and down the east coast of the United States and up in Canada too. And there's a lot of right whales that are seen up and down the coast each year. Each black dot is a right whale. And you can also see that these right whales were seen near your home too in Washington, D.C. These are all of the right whale sightings that were seen last year. So what do I do every day? I go up in the plane and we have 2 pilots and 3 or 4 biologists in the back of the plane. You can see me in this picture. I'm at the very back of the plane under the yellow arrow. So here I am looking out of the plane window for whales. My friend Tim is writing down what we find at the computer, and my friend Pete is taking pictures of what we find, which are the whales that we're finding. So every day we take off and we fly to the area we're looking for whales on that day. And we start flying the lines up and down until we find right whales. When we find whales, we do circles around them and then we take their pictures. And in this picture, you can see the black dots on the map where we found right whales. And if you zoom in, you can see all of the red circles that we did over the whales in red. So once we've taken photos of all of the right whales, we get back on our line and start going up and down looking for more whales. At the end of the day, we take all of our pictures and all of our computer data with us. And then probably the next day, we're going to be spending it in the office when we're trying to match the whales that we took pictures of. So what are my favorite parts of the job? I love finding mother-calf right whales. So these are right whales with their babies, and that's a lot of fun. The baby whales are called calves, and they're really small. And this is a right whale named Accordion and her calf, and we found them off of New York in February. Accordion has scars on her back from having been hit by a propeller from a boat. Sometimes this happens, unfortunately, but we try to tell the captains of boats to go slowly around areas where there might be whales to avoid having them hit them in their boats. And a lot of the time we can match whales just by seeing who they are in the plane. And we often get to recognize them. And so this is another one of the favorite parts of my job. And this whale here is named Ruffian. And he's an easy whale to recognize, and he's definitely one of our favorites. You can see that Ruffian has a lot of scars all over his head and his back, and they're on his tail too. And this is what happens when right whales get tangled in fishing rope. So expert whale rescuers were able to help Ruffian get out of his entanglement by cutting off the rope of his body. But not all whales are this lucky, and some whales can't get out of the rope and they can drown. So here's a look at how whales can get caught in fishing rope. Sometimes they get caught around their tails, sometimes in their flippers, but a lot of the time the rope ends up going through the whales' mouths. Researchers are working with fishermen to find a way to fish without getting the whales caught in this rope. Sometimes we're able to help get the whales out of the fishing rope. And when an entangled whale is found, the whale rescuers, the experts, they head out in their boats, and they're trained to be able to cut the rope off of the whales. They use poles with knives to try to stay as far as they can away from the whales because it can be really dangerous to try to cut this rope off of the whales because they're so big. And then we can help in the plane because we can see so far into the water that we can often tell the whale rescue experts where the whale is going to pop up so that they can get there faster in their boat to be able to help it. Sometimes the whales jump right out of the water, and we love it when this happens. Getting the pictures is a lot harder than you would think since the whales are moving really fast. And we know you're going to ask, we don't know why whales jump. A lot of the experts think this could be a way of communicating between the different whales. And sometimes when one whale starts to jump, other whales that are further away will start jumping too. So, as you can see, being a whale biologist is a lot of fun. I can answer any questions that you have. Please send them to your teacher, and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you, everyone.